A common question that comes up, whether in the office or in a lecture series, is whether or not detoxing is necessary. I have a couple reminders here to explain why I think it is necessary. I think it's at least helpful. It's Halloween, or it's autumn, and autumn signifies a change. The leaves go through a change, the chlorophyll goes through a change, trees, temperature, even some animals, bears, go through a change and hibernate. But there's always a hallmark of a shift in seasons. Sometimes in the digestive system, when you have to shift seasons, or there's going to be a change in what's the harvest in your local area, it would be important for you to prepare for the stressors of that time. Right now it's winter that's going to be coming up, and those foods and those activities that my patients had relied on in the summertime don't apply to what's going to happen in the winter. A great analogy I have is when I went to, there's a place called Buffalo Rock. It's a state park located just south of us, and they have two bison that they keep in confinement there. And the bison have oats during the summer and cornmeal during the winter. And I don't think either one is healthy for a bison. However, they intentionally give cornmeal in the winter because it produces more gas and heat. In human terms, that's not good. That's irritable bowel syndrome. But you know, usually with irritable bowel, people who suffer from IBS usually have bloating, and they do produce a lot of gas. Whether that's healthy or not for the IBS sufferer, no. As far as the bison, because of the gas, because of the heat, it does help them get through the winter. Going back to what my average patient should be experiencing, if you wanted to try a detox, I think it would be helpful to prepare the gut and the activities and the brain for what's going to happen in the next season. In Chicago, you'll have a big change between summer and winter, which is autumn, Halloween, fall, and then winter and summer, which will be spring, which is hallmarked by grass and fruits and vegetables. So during those times, detox, say something of a cleanse, can be partaken in for about a week. I think that's safe. There are some companies that profess that if you go through a 21-day detox, if you go through nothing but water, you can have these fancy staged detox in a box companies. You know, there isn't any one great way that has been proven to be better than another. So I'm going to just refrain from telling you which one I would suggest and say just getting the body prepped for the change in season is important. In the winter, there's a lot of omega-3s that can be taken advantage of. Your food groups will have to be changed to something with hot soups, nuts and berries, less on the green leafies and more on the seeded and earth-grown, or at least the legumes. I think they're important in the winter time. Just like our animals that hibernate, they try to beef up on those calorie-dense foods. Just because, number one, they're available in the area. Number two, if you rely on fruits and vegetables from South America or another country, again, knowing that it takes about 2,000 to 5,000 miles to travel, the likelihood of that food group being nutritious by the time it gets to your plate is low. So you are wasting money on something that you're trying to gain a taste for when it's off season. So in dollars and cents, you're wasting money if you're trying to stay healthy with relying on the foods of summer, especially if you live in northern states. Now, if you live in Florida or equatorial state, that's a country that's a little different. But just for the sake of saying why people should detox, I think it is important to note that change of season hallmarks when you start. It's always important to have a lot of water. I talked to a healthcare provider yesterday who's pretty fit at 50, but he's very regimented, he's very Western medicine, doesn't do any detoxing, just takes a lot of fruits, vegetables, a gallon of water a day, exercises every day. Perfect. Perfect for beating cholesterol and kind of fitting into the statistics for longevity. Hopefully he'll stay alive long. But the one caveat I told him is that he is eating a lot of fish. He switched over from animal meats, I should specifically say pig and beef to fish. And he's trying to take in omega-3 fish oils, but he's also taking a can of tuna fish every day. If you look on most websites, especially the EWG website, they'll have suggestions on how much tuna to take. Tuna is a big predator fish. And when you have, or you take advantage of the big predatory fish, you're going to be taking in more mercury. The higher on the totem pole you go in the fish population or in the fish world, the higher the possibility of mercury, because the smaller fish like sardines, herring, mackerel, they usually are the bottom feeders and or feed on algae or insects, and so the likelihood of them having mercury is low. The big fish that eat other fish, the likelihood of them having mercury is high. So you certainly want to limit how much tuna you have. Salmon is different, especially if it's farm grown. If it's farm grown, you probably don't have to worry about mercury, you just have to worry about pesticides. If it's naturally caught, like sockeye salmon, which cannot be farmed, it's the only salmon that can't be farmed, you might have to worry about a little bit of mercury, but I think getting an annual mercury test if you're a pesco, ovo vegetarian would be important. In the case of my friend who takes in a can every day, definitely wanted to get a mercury test, even if you're not feeling symptoms. My challenge is, does the guy with heart disease that eats just lousy food and smokes, does he wait until he has symptoms to get a heart check, or does he get a heart check preventatively to see if he's now in time to get his ass in gear to start losing weight and getting out on a different lifestyle? You obviously have to do it ahead of time. So same thing with tuna. I'll see if I can provide a link to EWG's website. It's ewg.org. Very good website, non-for-profit, and they do. They have the Dirty Dozen, the Clean 15, and they also have a couple of different links to great utensils or information for patients. The other thing to also keep in mind is when you have college kids or college-age kids, they'll obviously be they'll rely heavily on processed foods. Microwave foods usually have to have preservatives. Canned foods, even canned water will usually have preservatives. BPA's accumulate high, and especially if you keep bottles in the car and they get hot or heated up, or you heat up plastic or styrofoam. So small amounts of carcinogens are probably not bad for you, but if you have multiple hits, multiple exposures to carcinogen in the foam pillows you sleep on and breathe in, into the pesticides that you eat in some fish and foods, into some cleaners that you use in the car, in the house, hand sanitizers even do have things that are called carcinogens. They have a tendency to influence your cells to become cancer-like. When you have one, not bad. When you have multiple hits, very bad. It's studied that through, again, EWG's website, they tested 2 to 3 women that were just giving birth. They tested the cord blood from the placenta, and they found at least 200 to 300 pesticides in the cord blood of the placenta to the baby. And that was also double checked with the blood test for mom. It was 250 or 150. Bottom line is there's a lot of pesticides even that get across the placenta. So we're definitely exposing ourselves now more to anything that was ever there in the environment 20 years ago. So the studies are all coming out. Environmental groups the EPA is asking or demanding for labeling, which is again very important to ask your local government to push the labeling bill through and ask for GMO labeling in addition. But yes, detoxing is helpful. I would not spend a lot of money. In yoga, we detox just with doing hot yoga. That's sweating. But when you detox, you have to be safe. You should be getting your detox from a reliable source. I like Fruitful Yield. I like Whole Foods. Going online, you have to research your companies quite a bit. Even call their 800 number and ask them where they get the research for how they figure how many days is involved or not, or what compounds, milk thistle versus glutathione versus other things that are good for the liver or colon. You got to ask them how they come up with these formulations. Test your companies, know when to call it and say stop, it's too much, you're feeling lousy, and also don't overdo it. Twice a year I think is appropriate. Again, with yoga or Ayurveda, it's with a change of season. And in any place, the most amount of seasons you can come up with is 4. Doing a detox more than 4 times a year, I think, is pushing the body a little bit because it's stressful. If you feel great with it, fine, by all means. But if you're getting obsessed with buying products or having a colon cleanse every couple of weeks, I think that's overdoing it. And you might want to look at other things that might be causing you to seek out these detox products.